Sometimes buyers will call you. I got those calls too. They will call you or DM you, hey, this is the house I want to go. And what you want to do is just go right away, run to show it, right? It's a client. I have to go and I have to run. And sometimes that's what we have to do. And then meet them at the house and start getting to know them and build relationship at the house. But there's also has to be some little strategy behind just running to the client. There's got to be a system that you always kind of lean on and start asking them questions and qualifying and getting them involved in a transaction. Sometimes when you are in the middle of a deal, the buyer says, for example, the contract is accepted and the buyer says, can I send you the money so you can write the earnest money check and drive it and deposit it to the listing office? Anybody had that request from the buyer? I've had it. I've had a request from the buyer asking them, can you come to me? Can you take the check? Can you drop it off? And sometimes that's what we need to do. But I think that question only happens when we don't educate upfront that this is how the process goes. This is what happens once we get it under contract. You will need to get the check. You will need to drive it, deposit it. The reason I want them to be more involved, because the more time they put into the deal, the more invested they become, harder for them to cancel the deal because they become a little bit more invested in the deal. That's my opinion. When we start from the whole beginning of working with a buyer, it's how you talk to them initially. The very first conversation, because we had that with, I don't remember who was that asking me the question. There was this buyer saying, I want this, I want that, I want this. Do you think it's possible? And the agent says, yes, of course it's possible. But it wasn't possible. There was a crazy request. And we need to tell them that I don't think that's doable. In my opinion, we need to tell them that this is what the market is. And sometimes it's better to tell them what it is and them have to walk away. Yesterday, Nick was calling lots of buyers and the buyer was telling, I want 4-bedroom, I want 3-bathroom, I want this, and Nick's going, how many acres do you want? In LaGrange, Westmont, how many acres do you want? She's like, 15. We start laughing. Going back to working with buyers, it's initial conversations. Like sometimes they tell you what's not real. And we want to tell them that I don't think it's possible because you don't want to waste your time driving around. They're not going to buy at the end. And you don't want that to happen to you. You drive around, you waste your time, and then nothing happens. So it's better to educate them up front, and they're thankful. Thanks for letting me know what the conditions are. It's tough to get contracts accepted right now. It's not that your first contract will be accepted. It's going to be 3, 4, 5 times sometimes. So you don't lose a client also after the third time writing a contract. Because I always think that we got 3 or 4 times to write a contract, then the buyer walks away. That's my opinion. The more contracts you write, the less chances the buyer will stick. I was writing a contract for my buyers and I lost them. They gave up on the market. Because like I'm buying the multifamily, I'm looking for a building and like I gave up. But luckily one showed up, I'm on the contract. But that was just luck. I was like, I don't want no more. I'm waiting till fall. I myself like that. If you're going through that roller coaster of emotions. So when you have the buyer who is ready to close or who's ready to buy something and you see in their eyes they're really interested in buying something, you really have to step up and you have to own this situation. Like when the buyer tells you, let's put an offer. So what do? We go run to the listing agent or we just write an offer to send it. It starts with going back to the buyer and how bad do you want the property? I want it 100%. It's crazy. I can't sleep. I need the property. I'm gonna go to the listing agent and I'm going to convince that listing agent that we are the best. Is that what you want me to do? I'm going to promise him the whole world. Do you have a green light from you? Yes, let's go. Then you go to the listing agent and then you start. What the fears of listing agents are. This is going to be a long process. There's going to be extensions. This may fall apart. They're going to ask for a lot of credits after inspection and the whole deal, and I'm going to lose my relationship with the seller. Those are the fears. So we tackle them up front. With an offer, we have the lender CC'd, which is pretty good. Also, we'd like to also tell the buyers maybe before, I don't have many buyers right now, but I would be using this for sure a lot. Tell the buyer to get some sort of paper from the bank about their money as a down payment. This stands out 100%. If you submit an offer and a proof of down payment, you know how serious this is? Well, if your buyer is looking for 3% down, you don't send that with a proof of down payment. But if your buyer is real solid, you secure it with a proof of down payment if you can. You can tell them that you don't have to do this. You don't have to. If it's hard for you, no problem. But if you really want to get something when you're gonna see the house that you really like, this piece of paper that's gonna take you 2 minutes to get from the bank is going to secure the house that you really want.